Okay guys, DBSAR here again. What we're going to do now, again with the first batch of the LT1s, some have noticed that the bail handle is not in line parallel with the actual on switch. Disregard the lanyard I have placed on here. As you see, this one's slightly angled on the switch. So there's a couple of options here. In the bottom of here, there's several screws, just 3 screws. I've never really tested, but the only thing is you'd have to basically pull the driver out, untwist the wire, lift the top off, and remove the screws and try twisting it around until you find an alignment that works. But the easy way I found is that there's inside on the actual globe, in the center section, there's 2 little tabs that stick up and lock into the LED star and hold this thing in place. These were probably put there so in case when you're twisting and undoing the battery tube, they don't twist the globe. But what I've found also, the O-rings, and this is screwed to the bottom so it isn't going to twist here anyway. The O-ring around the top, when this is snugged in, not too tight but snug enough, it's not going to twist anyway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to demonstrate how quickly I easily realign this by removing those tabs. So basically all I had to do is remove the battery tube, and as you can see, the driver's here on the top. We're going to basically push the bail handle back a little bit. And what we have is an Allen key, which fits this here. It's a fine Allen key, which I'm not sure exactly. I think it's a 4.5 millimeter, if I'm correct. So, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the screw. And remove it for now, but not remove the screw completely, because what will happen is the twisted wires may get in the way. So we're just going to loosen it till it's removed from the threads. And then we're going to lift that. Now some of the LT1s, there's going to be enough slack in the wire inside. Be careful with the O-ring here. What I'm going to do with this O-ring that's inside the sealing O-ring is I'm going to push it down over the actual the globe of the lantern itself. Let's see here, just wrap this around. We're just going to let it sit around the base out here. So by wiggling a little bit, I've got roughly 1/2 inch on this one. So you can probably see in there. And if you look carefully, you can see the 2 little tabs. There's one here, and there's one on the other side. So what we're going to do, in this case, I have a couple of these side snips for thin wire, is that we're going to, as you can see, the tab is right there. I'm just going to reach in and snip the tab off, like that. Make sure it falls out. And then I'm going to twist it around, the whole thing. And then you'll see the other tab. And we're going to snip this one off flush. Okay, what you might need to do then is take a little file or an edge knife thing and just clean up the edge of it if your pliers isn't really flush cutting like these. So these actually cut quite flush, so I can't see no edge there. So what we're going to do next is basically put it together. Now if your LT1, for instance, cannot lift up high enough to get enough gap, what you may have to do is remove remove the 2 screws from the bottom of the driver, lift the driver up and untwist the wires itself so you can lift this up high enough. So we're going to put this back in because I didn't pull it up any higher, so it's still there. But anyhow, like I said, in this case I had enough space. So what we're going to do this time, now remember the O-ring, it fell off right here. So it's a little difficult to get the O-ring in place if you try and push it up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in place first and thread in this a few threads. And see this little gap? I'm going to bring this gap down to the point that's roughly a little bit thicker than what the O-ring is. This makes it a little bit easier to get the O-ring in place, because what happens sometimes when you're trying to put this O-ring back in place, which is the seal O-ring on top, it just pops off the top and falls inside. So by doing this, leave just enough gap on top, the head holds the actual O-ring from falling off. So we're going to push the O-ring in. As you see now, it's in there. It just popped right in place. And we're going to pop and twist, give it a little twist, and you can feel the O-ring seat. And then we're going to snug this down. Now, be careful with this. Don't over torque this, because remember you're tightening against a plastic globe, the lens itself. So we're just going to snug it until it's firm. And just test it, and if you can't twist ahead, you're good, and everything seems to be good. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to loosen it again, because we know the O-ring is seated loose enough so that you can look at your switch and look at your bail handle, and we're going to twist it till the bail handle lines up. You can have it this way, 90 degrees, or you can have it perpendicular straight on. Just be careful not to twist the head too many times, because remember there's 3 leads running down through and you could twist those off or damage them. So we're just going to line it up until the actual bail handle is sort of 90 degrees to the switch, and then we're going to snug this in until it's holding it just snug and it doesn't twist. And there you go. The bail handle is now 90 degrees from the switch, so that way we can push this in the back. And then place it all back together again. There you go. The bail handle is now 90 degrees to the switch. And some of you may prefer to have it this way. You can do the same thing, just twist it 45 degrees. We know there was a problem with the orange O-ring that came with the lantern not fitting in this groove, because the groove needs to be made deeper. We discussed that with the team. But what I did find for now is I pushed that original rubber O-ring down into the groove below here. And at a dollar store, I found these little, they appear to be nylon coated elastics, which is rubber in the center, but the outside appears to be like a woven, like a braided material. I think they're called scrunchies or something. But yeah, I just popped one, and they're roughly an inch diameter. And when you reach to a point here, they're really snug, and I pop one on in place there, and it stays there. It doesn't fall off. It's you know, you'd have to really hook out to get this thing out, and it seems to do the same trick as what the O-ring does. It actually cushions not as well as the O-ring, but it does fill in the groove, and it actually rests a little bit higher in the groove, not as high as what the original one did. But yeah, it's a good temporary fix, and plus you can get these things in millions of different colors, or just plain black, whichever you want. And that's what I did for that for now. But hopefully in the next batch or batch after, they're gonna change this, either with a tighter O-ring or a deeper groove to try to hold that in place better.